Okay. We're doing this project for biology. This is my first interview with Mr. Hemian. She's a teacher at Yes Prep, and we're gonna ask her. We're gonna start the interview. Mr. Hemian, as a person that came from your background, that came from a high society school, and that taught at a school like Patrick Henry, from like the two different sides, from the rich people side and from the poor side, how do you think that affects people, like the kids' education?
I think it affects their education greatly. I don't think that it's necessarily fair that in one of the wealthiest countries in the world we have such a big discrepancy between what the education for people who come from the right zip codes is and what the education for the kids who come from the wrong zip codes is. It's just not correct that still happens today. One of the last things that Martin Luther King Jr. said when he was working with the civil rights movement was kind of like, step one, let's make sure that we have integration, but step two, let's start working towards achieving equal education for everyone. And I think we're still working towards that goal that Martin Luther King set for our nation. I love the fact that we have schools like KIPP and Yes, and Idea Academy around that are trying to kind of bridge that gap that exists between the type of high school that I went to, which is Beverly Hills High School, and the type of schools that are around in Texas, like Patrick Henry Middle School or Sam Houston High School.
Do you worry about your kids from Patrick Henry, and do you worry about the kids that you used to know at Beverly Hills?
I never worry about the students that went to school with me at Beverly Hills because every single one of them went to college. Every single one of them, with the exception of one, graduated from college. The other one went into the military and is very successful in the military. I worry all the time about my Patrick Henry kids. It's one of the main reasons why I'm Facebook friends with so many of them, because it's kind of my way to make sure that they're still doing okay. I think a lot of times we assume that if a student is a good student, they're going to be fine at any school that they go to, and I don't think that's true. I used to be someone who used to think that, and I really do not think that that's true, especially seeing what happens to a few of my students who are star students at Patrick Henry, and then when they went to another high school, what happened to them and where they are now.
As a student that's gonna view this, and as it's a fellow American, this is gonna so you know, this is gonna go on YouTube after their interviews are finished. What would you give one advice for the student that's not in that doesn't live in the rich society and that has a very list, maybe goes to a very bad school or a school that doesn't really care about them? Like, what's your advice for them?
My biggest advice is kind of like find your right place at whatever school that you are at. If you find that one thing that you are passionate about, it's going to help you keep your focus and you're going to achieve that goal. So maybe you don't love school, maybe you don't love all of your classes, and that's okay. There are very few people who actually love everything that they do. But you need to find that one thing that you really are passionate about and use that one thing to help motivate you to be successful in all the other areas of your life. I mean, you may be at a disadvantage based off of what type of school you are at, but that doesn't mean that no one who's at the school that you've been to has never been successful. There have been plenty of successful people at every single type of school. You just have to find more motivation within yourself to become that successful person.
The last question, we'll finish it out. The last question I wanted to ask you, you as a teacher, if you had a choice, would you go back and teach at a school before you came to Yes, and you got to decide, would you rather teach still at Patrick Henry or at school at like Beverly Hills, where you know the students are going to go to college, and so you wouldn't have to work that hard and it would be easier for you? Or would you rather go to that school where the kid what society calls like the bad kids, the gang kids, kids that will probably get pregnant and end up like in a very bad situation?
I know you're never supposed to say never, never say never, but I will never teach at a type of school that I went to. So I would never teach at like a Beverly Hills high school type of school or Episcopal or Kincaid, because I don't think that they necessarily. I think that they can make it with or without teachers that are like me or any of my coworkers or my friends. I would go back to a school like Patrick Henry. I could eventually see myself going maybe and teaching at Sam or at Jefferson Davis or any of the other public high schools here. Right now I'm still learning a lot from what works with Yes and why people are successful at Yes, what are the systems that are working, in hopes that maybe one day I could take those ideas to a school that needs it and help them become like a school like Yes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Heeman, for giving me this time for the interview. Really appreciate your thoughts, so thank you.